Hi girls and boys, welcome back. This is the week of May 3rd through the 7th, and today is day 1. I'll be reviewing with you all the items we'll need before we get started. We always need our nameplate, along with a dry erase marker. We'll be doing that as one of our first activities. We're going to be studying the letters X and Y. So in your packet you should have this sheet. It has X. I can trace and write letter X. And on the back side I can trace and write letter Y. For our collage, this says X. X is for X-ray. We're going to be making a bunch of X's inside of those circles, and I'm going to be using a few different crayons. You can choose whichever color crayons you like. And then for Y, Y is for yarn. I have a skein of yarn here, and I'm going to cut a little bit, so you might want to get some scissors. Ask your parents to help you with this part, and then we'll be gluing it down the yarn on our sheet. That should take care of everything you need, and I think we're ready to go. So here we are, our nameplate along with a dry erase marker. Take your time, and when you're through, hold it up for me to see. I would love to see your progress. Thanks to all of you for sticking with me this year. I know that some of you have been doing this for a long time. Here's your nameplate and my nameplate. I can tell if you've been practicing your name as much as I've been practicing with you, you're getting much faster. So the letter X, I like to go like this with my arms. X. Can you make X with your arm? X. The sound is X. Box. The X sound is at the end of that word. X. X. Box. Look at this picture. Fox. Again, X. See if you can say fox. We're going to be writing the letter X a few times, but before we do that, I'd like to show you some X words. Here we have a picture of an X-ray. It's a real X-ray. It's a person's skull along with their jaw and teeth. It's an interesting picture, X-ray. Here we have a box. Just a second ago I showed you a fox. Here we go. X. X is often at the end of the word. X. Fox. Here's an example of the letter X at the beginning of a word. Xylophone. See this instrument? It's called a xylophone. Xylophone. For the letter X, here's the worksheet. You have it in a plastic sleeve. And the letter X, you start for the capital on the top line and you slant down to the bottom. And again, you start on the top line and you slant the opposite direction to the bottom. Let's make a few of these. Slant to the right and slant to the left. Slant to the right, slant to the left. Slant to the right, slant to the left. And you're using the whole area. You're going all the way from the top line to the bottom line there. That's the capital X. Now for the lowercase x, you start on the middle line and you go to the bottom line. They look exactly the same other than their size is just smaller. So let's make some small x's. These are called lowercase x's. And here we have a picture again of a xylophone. and a picture of an X-ray. We've already talked about both of those. The letter X. Now for our collage, we have this sheet, and it has a bunch of little circles inside of the X. And what I think is best for us to do is just practice writing the X using a crayon. So here we go. I'm going to use, let's say, 3 different colors today. You can use whatever colors you like. I have purple, green, and orange. And I'm going to make an X with purple. I'm going to jump around a little bit. Can you make X's? X marks the spot. Now I'm going to change the color. I'll choose orange. Here we have lots and lots of X's. And then the last color we have, or I have, is green. Now we have X with lots of X's. And you'll do the same thing to the other side as well. Here we have the uppercase or capital X and the lowercase x. Now let's go on to the next letter, which is Y. Yo-yo. This is the letter Y. This is the uppercase or capital Y, and this is lowercase y. Yeah is the sound, like yo-yo. Yeah. I'm going to show you some pictures of Y words and see if you know what they are. This one we just talked about. It has a string on it. It goes down and up and down and up, and it's called a yo-yo. It's a fun toy. It's been around for a long time. This is a type of animal. We do not have them where we live. It's called a yak. Look how big that is. It's a very large animal. Yak. And we're going to be working with yarn soon. It's called yarn. And I brought some yarn. You can see it has a little piece that comes off of it. You can make things like sweaters and scarves, hats, yarn, yogurt. If you get really tired, you might yawn. It's making me tired just doing that. Yawn. So let's practice writing our Y. So you're going to need this sheet again. The first side has X, and this side it says I can trace and write letter Y. You start on the top, you slant to the middle line and slant the other way to the middle line so it looks like a V, and then you have a straight line down. Slant to the middle, straight line down. Slant to the middle, straight line down. We'll make a few more capital Y's. Now the lowercase y, we start on the middle and we slant to the middle, but on the other one we go past the bottom line. See how this goes past the bottom line? It's a little different than the uppercase. It just takes 2 strokes instead of 3. 1, 2 lines. A small line and a longer line. Do you see the difference? Short and long. And here we have a picture of a child yelling. Starts with Y, yelling. And here we have yarn. We're going to be having some fun with yarn. I think you'll enjoy the activity. You're going to get your yarn, cut a few pieces, and we're going to attach yarn onto this collage sheet. So let me get my yarn ready. I already cut it. I'm going to need a little bit of glue. So this is the best way to do it. Just do a strip this way, strip this way, and a strip down. So I have 3 strips. Now I'm going to attach the yarn, and it should stick right on the glue. Y is for yarn. Look how nice that is. It sticks right there. Now we're going to do the lowercase y, just like I was talking about how you only need 2 strokes, you only need 2 pieces of yarn here. A shorter piece and a longer piece. And you can see here I have a shorter piece of yarn and a longer piece. Let you know when you write the lowercase y, one stroke is longer than the other. Here we are. It's pretty good. Look how nice that looks. Y is for yarn. And we have uppercase and lowercase. This week we've been talking about at school, we're talking about poetry. You may or may not know much about poetry, and that's okay. That's why we're in school. We learn lots of new things. There's a book here, and it's about Daniel, and it says Daniel finds a poem. So maybe he'll help you understand what it means. And it's by Micah Archer. And you can see the little boy is looking at an animal here. Little chipmunk, looks so cute. And here we have the title page. Now he's looking at another animal, isn't he? Daniel knows all the rocks, trees, and animals in the park. On Monday morning, Daniel sees something new. On the park gate, a sign reads, "Poetry in the Park, Sunday at 6 o'clock." "What is poetry?" Daniel asks. He has the same question some of you have. He looks up in surprise when he hears Spider say, "To me, poetry is when morning dew glistens." So now the animals are speaking to Daniel. Do you think this is a real story? Do spiders really talk to you? No. It's make-believe, so it's fiction. It's not true. On Tuesday, Daniel climbs the old oak tree. He sees Squirrel. "Squirrel, do you know what poetry is?" "Poetry is when crisp leaves crunch," Squirrel tells him. On Wednesday, Daniel calls into Chipmunk's hole. "Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is?" Poetry? Poetry is a home with many windows and an old stone wall. On Thursday, Daniel makes a boat with a leaf for a sail and watches the wind carry it across the pond. He calls quietly to Frog. "Excuse me, Frog, what is poetry?" Poetry, says Frog, is a cool pool to dive into. On Friday, Daniel parts the cattails and finds Turtle. Hello, Turtle. I have a question. Do you know what poetry is? I think poetry is sun-warmed sand, Turtle says. Everyone has a different idea about poetry. On Saturday afternoon, Daniel finds Cricket in the shade of the slide. When the shadows are long, Cricket fills the air with music. Is this poetry to you, Cricket? Singing at twilight, when the day is done. Indeed it is, Daniel. That night, moonlight fills Daniel's room. He hears a whoo leaning from his window. He calls to Owl. Owl, what is poetry? Oh, poetry. Poetry is bright stars and branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Good night, dear Daniel, she whispers, and flies off into the night. On Sunday, the sun wakes up Daniel. He is happy when he remembers it's Sunday. Today is poetry in the park, says Daniel, and I have a poem. So he's written a poem. Morning dew glistens, crisp leaves crunch. There's a home with many windows in the cold stone wall. Cool pools to dive in, sun-warmed sand to lie in. Singing at twilight when the day is done. Bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. On the way home, Daniel stops to watch the sunset sky reflecting in the pond. That looks like poetry to me. To me too, says Dragonfly. I hope you enjoyed that book. We're going to be talking more about poetry in the next video I make, so I hope you come back for that. We'll talk more about poetry, and make sure to watch the video that's below so that you can learn more and enjoy some poetry. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye, boys and girls.